You deserve everything that you desire in this life. All of it. The soulmate relationship, you deserve that. That booming bank account and business, you deserve that. The career that you love, that you genuinely have a passion for, you deserve that. However, there is a clear distinction and difference between deserving and entitlement. And this is something that actually came back to consciousness for me after listening to one of those clips from, I believe it's 50 Cent's book, Hustle Harder and Smarter, something like that, right? And he was talking about basically this essence of entitlement and how a multitude of people in his life felt entitled simply because he was willing to give opportunities. And even when they would fumble the bag, when they would miss opportunity, they felt as if they were owed that thing from him. Now, I want to make it clear that, again, we are deserving in this life. I would not take away from anybody's plate and say that somebody doesn't deserve something they have. That's why when I start to look at people who have whatever it is, they got the fleet of Lambos, they got the penthouses, this, that, and the third. I'm like, you know what? That's theirs. They deserve that, right? For whatever reason, the person deserves it. And it's only the hater within me that would say anything otherwise. The hater within me would say Illuminati. Hater within me say industry plan. This person doesn't deserve. That's the only thing. It's insecurity speaking when it's trying to take away from somebody else and what they got going on. However, for me to say that you are entitled to whatever the next person has, absolutely not. And I know a lot of us get hung up in this, right? We get caught up in this mentality of like, I should have what they have. And we do this with wealthy individuals, especially in the United States. We say, well, that guy's got too much money. That guy's got too much money. That girl's got too much money over there. Let's round up their money and give it to everybody else because it's not fair. We don't have enough money, but they have all the money. That's the mentality we come in. Therefore, they need to give up their money in order for us to have some money. Not understanding the psychology, first and foremost, of how money even works. Not understanding economics, like baseline economics, the most foundational, fundamental economics, which says that supply and demand are always going to increase exponentially as one or the other increases, right? When there is more supply, there's going to be more demand. When there's more demand, there's going to be more supply. That's basic economics. Therefore, an economy expands. It does not shrink or contract as we may think. It may have small contractions, but it expands again. Small seeming contraction expands again. Just like all things in the universe are continuously expanding. All things in the universe are going towards expansion, are going towards growth. Therefore, we look at the world and we think to ourselves from a scarcity mentality, which has been programmed and conditioned into us. We believe it's a one-sum game. They have some, this person has less. They take, this person loses. And the reason we have that mentality is because, again, that conditioning from youth, which says, you got to get yours before they get theirs, or, only way you can get yours is to take theirs. So if you want to be a good person, don't take anything. And so you deprive yourself believing in this one-sum game when in truth, the reality of this universe that we live in is there is only abundance. And we can see that in everything around us. We can see that in the very trees that are outside. They will produce an abundance of leaves. They will produce an abundance of branches. If there's fruit that is growing from that tree, there will be fruit and more fruit and more fruit. It's going to let fruit go. It's going to be wasteful in its abundance. And it's going to plant more trees that are going to produce even more leaves, branches, and fruit. And that's exactly how life multiplies within our own bodies. They say there are, I think, 3.9 million cells produced every second. Think about that. 3.9 million cells every single second that are produced in our bodies. If that ain't abundance, I don't know what is. Like if you were to have $3.9 million wired into your bank account every single second, that would seem like abundance. To most of us, that would seem like abundance when it came to finances. But for some reason, again, we have this notion that we continue to accept that keeps us in a deprived mentality. And this may be triggering for some people. Anytime I start talking about abundance or prosperity, etc., there has to be somebody who comes out and says, "You don't understand. Poverty is systematic, and it's through oppression and this, that, and the third." Listen, I come from a quote unquote third world country. Right? I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, where there was 80% unemployment by the time we were leaving that environment. 80% unemployment. In the United States, if it's 7%, we start freaking out. We call it a depression. You understand me? So I came from that environment, and I still saw people who changed and shifted their mentalities, who changed and shifted the way in which they saw the world, and they were able to come to those very same circumstances. However, we then feel entitled, right? We feel, oh, that person made it out because they had this, that, this, and this. No, They came from exactly where you came from. They were next door. They were next door neighbors and they had it worse off than you. They make it into a certain level of quote unquote prominence or quote unquote worldly success. And then when you start to look at them and from a place of resentment, from a place of hatred, from a place of jealousy, let's be honest about it. I created an entire video on the confessions of a hater because I was a hater myself. I was an envious person. I was jealous. I didn't want other people to have what they had, but I wouldn't let that be known, of course. I just say, well, I'm being realistic. Or I even called it some sense of humanitarianism. You know what I mean? That's the good one. That's a really good one. When we say, well, I just care about people. And so I believe that it's not fair that that person has and the other one does not. When in truth, it is about us. And how I know this is if that billionaire, whatever it is, gave money to everybody around you except for you, how would you feel about that? Everybody else who's poor in your environment or whatever it may be, right? Everybody else who's quote unquote deprived around you. If everybody else got the money besides you, you would still look at them as selfish. So it's actually about us. And we have to be honest about this. That's the only way we can break this generational curse of a state of consciousness that is poverty, a state of consciousness that is scarcity and lack, which is rooted in a lie. Because again, the universe produces abundance and only abundance. It produces planets in abundance. We live on this planet and this planet is plenty big enough for ourselves. Just imagine a universe that is spitting out planets continuously, that is forever giving birth to new planets, that is giving birth to new galaxies as we speak. And yet we believe that this tiny little fractal of something that we want is impossible for us to get. We deserve everything we desire in this life, but we are not entitled to a damn thing. We are not entitled to any damn thing that anybody else has within their own life. We are not entitled to anybody else's gift. We're not entitled to anybody else's blessing. We're not entitled to anybody else's money. We're not entitled to any of those things. I may think to myself, well, what about reparations, right? You don't understand. Do you know what happened to our people? Listen, if somebody's willing to give you reparations, if you come to an agreement with an individual and they will give you the reparations, then go at it. Have at it. I'm not going to stop you from getting your money. I'm going to go collect some money myself. But to go to somebody and demand from them that they owe you something, unless this is an employer and you signed a contract, or this is a client and you signed a contract that said, you owe me this money. You are entitled to it by deed. You're entitled to it, paperwork, right? Or verbal agreement of some sense. Unless there is that stipulation between y'all two, you don't deserve a damn thing that person has. And the longer you continue to be entitled or continue to have the spirit of entitlement towards other people, you will keep yourself in deprivation. You will keep yourself from the very things that you desire in this life. You will keep yourself apart from the abundance that the universe has for you. You will stay in that poverty mentality. You will stay in that scarcity mentality. You will forever be deprived from the things that you desire because you are feeling as if somebody else's stuff is yours when really there is an absolute abundance for you. That is only for you. That is multiplying continuously, everlasting. All the things that are for you are always going to be for you. And you will never miss out on those things unless you close yourself off from them. You do not allow them. You continue to perpetuate a poverty mentality. You continue to perpetuate a mentality of scarcity. And you look to other people wanting what they have. Looking at your life as lesser than, looking at your life as not good enough and somebody else's life is better and you want to have what they have or you don't want them to have what they have. Yes, I'm turning up today. Yes, I'm going all the way in because I'm done with seeing my people continuously live a life of frustration, live a life of resentment, live a life of bitterness towards the world when in truth, they're stopping and blocking their own good from coming to them. There is an infinitum of good for you. That is for you that you are deserving of, but you don't believe you're deserving of because you're still holding on to those belief systems from, the time of your adolescence and you continue to believe those belief systems. And so it leads you to a place where you want what somebody else is. There is a perfect relationship for you, your soulmate, but you look at somebody else and say, oh, must be nice. If only I had their girl, if only I had their guy. Like desire is a real thing, right? Desire, I believe, is healthy because it causes us to expand, to become more. But to desire what somebody else's and to say that should be mine is seeing it from a skewed and warped perception. When you see somebody having a beautiful relationship and you think, oh, if I only had their girl, then I would have the perfect relationship. And so you start to go after what somebody else is. You start to go after that relationship, not understanding what you desire is what you see them having. It's the dynamic that you desire. When somebody else is having an abundant life, you say, I need their money is my money. No, my friend, your money is your money. What you desire is the abundance that that person is living in. And again, it's there's a parasite of the mind that has taken us over, that has us have the skewed perception of somebody having more means somebody else having less. That's not how the economy even works. That's not how basic economics works. It's not somebody having more, somebody having less, somebody having more, somebody having less. So if I have more, then somebody else has less. That's how we've been conditioned to believe. We've been programmed into the scarcity mentality, and it is the very bane of our suffering. It is at the root and at the core of why we feel deprived. We can't even see the goodness in our life right now. You can't even see the good that's happening to you right now. The fact that your body is working still, that is operating, that you have the ability to whatever it is that you have the ability to do in this life. Anything, all of that is a blessing. And instead of looking at the good in your life and allowing that good to multiply, instead of using the law of attraction, the law of vibration, the law of resonance, whatever you want to call it, universal principle to work for you and to live in a state of gratitude, you live in a perpetual state of complaining, of why me, of I want what they have, of they shouldn't have what they have. And that's why you suffer. That's why you go through what you go through. You need to eradicate that mentality. Absolutely. You need to let go of it wholeheartedly. You need to have no more excuses for that mentality. Otherwise, it will consume you whole and you will live a life that is deprived. You will live a life where you feel you are lesser than. You will live a life where you always feel you have the short end of the stick. There's no other two ways around it. There's no other two ways about it. You can't do anything externally that's going to change your true life situation. That money could be funneled into your account right now, and you will find a way to lose it like that. You will find a way to give it away, quote unquote, give it away. You'll really splurge it away because you haven't developed a consciousness of prosperity. You haven't allowed yourself to develop a consciousness of wealth. I'm not speaking from a soapbox. I'm speaking to you as experience. I'm speaking to you as an individual who lived in that state of deprivation for far too long, of self-imposed deprivation. And I blamed and I complained and I wasn't able to see the good and I wasn't able to cultivate a mentality of prosperity, of deservedness, of knowing that I deserve the good in life. That's what we have to do in order to make this transcendence, in order for us to shift from where we are to where we truly want to be. Living a life based in the abundance of life itself, rooted in absolute infinite abundance, which is all there is. Again, you can just close yourself off from the supply. Like the old saying goes, you can go to the ocean with a little cup, a water cup, or you can go with the Tonka truck. For me, I've made the decision. I'm not going to bring a Tonka truck. I'm not bringing none of that. I'm creating a channel for myself. I'm creating a river and a multitude of rivers going off of the ocean that allow the abundance into my life to continuously flow. And that doesn't take away from what is somebody else's. There is only multiplication in this life. And that idea is only hard for us to register. It's only hard for us to accept when we are continuing to perpetuate this fear-based, right, insecurity-based, warped perception that there is not enough for everybody, or not enough for us, or that we're not deserving of what's out there, and that the other person is deserving. And so we would rather have them not have so we can stop feeling that insecurity. We can stop feeling the triggering of that inadequacy within ourselves. That is our own belief. We must eradicate those beliefs within ourselves, period. That being said, eradicate that guilt from your life as well. Doing me guilt-free, breaking free from people-pleasing, unleashing your true personal power. This is my first published book, the one of many, but this is my first baby, my firstborn, my only begotten, as we would say. And this is a book that is going to travel through life with you. It is a necessity for us all to live from a place where we are no longer living for the validation and approval of others, because that's something else that keeps us in this cycle, in this perpetual foolishness. We want everybody else to see us as a good person, as a this, as a that. We want to be perceived by others as something, as opposed to just living our lives authentically. Because how somebody else sees me is really none of my business. And oftentimes it is just rooted in who they are. It's rooted in something within themselves. If somebody going to call you selfish or greedy or whatever it is, good riddance. Okay, call me what you may. I am whatever you need me to be for you to make yourself comfortable. But I'm not buying into that. I'm going to live my life guilt-free. So you can get yourself a copy of one of them by clicking the link in the description below. Until the next time, namaste, namasko.